This is As Raw Podcast. And we're going to be talking about UFC 277. Amanda Nunes versus Julian Pena. Well, really, it's Julian Pena versus Amanda Nunes, number 2. And it was the defense of the massive upset that Pena pulled off against Amanda Nunes. And the fight played out early on exactly how I thought it played out. I knew that Pena would need Nunes to give her some stuff for her to have success, that she couldn't just take it, that she wasn't skilled enough to make the things happen for herself. She needed Nunes to play along. And I knew that Nunes could make adjustments in the fight that would make it a lot easier for her, to make her a lot more effective. And it was a lot of times with just choosing your spots, being more patient, not being arrogant with what you're doing. And I really feel like that's what Amanda Nunes did in this fight. Now, it doesn't mean it wasn't a competitive fight, because it was a competitive fight. And the one thing that I was kind of surprised is still Amanda Nunes did not attack her front leg. She did early and then went away from it. Didn't consistently do it. I thought that was there the whole time. I thought it really would have eliminated what Pena could have done, because she needed her front leg so much to move in and out. She was putting a lot of weight on it. She was making it very obvious where her offense is coming from, and still had some success with her offense. She just never was able to make the adjustments that were needed for the way Nunes was fighting. For the way, Amanda Nunes was fighting. Now, Nunes came in, she switched southpaw. The really effective shot was she had like a overhand counter hook jab sort of shot that went over Pena's straight shots, because all Pena had was her 2 straight shots. She just 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. That's all she had. And when Nunes started going over her, because she knew that she was going to come straight in, she would just go over her punch like that. She knew that Pena would just walk into it. And what Pena needed to do, and the trainer touches on it one point after the end of the first round, but never kind of goes back to her, never emphasizes the key part of it. Is, hey, she's sitting on your left hand. She's sitting on it, and she's planting when she do it. Don't use the jab. Come in with the straight right. Because when you come in with the straight right, she's sitting on your left hand. She's going to throw it no matter what. She's throwing it off your movement, not even off the punch. She's throwing it off when you come forward, because she's just expecting you to start with your left hand. So if you come in straight right, she's going to be wide open for it, and she's sitting on it. She's going to take the brunt of it. She does it a few times, you'll see, and it's a lot of success when she does it. And one time she even throws a straight right and then comes out with the jab behind it. But it's never consistent with it. The corner never tells her to stay consistent with it. What they want more is her to grapple when she goes southpaw. Now, not saying that was a bad idea, but it just was. Yes, that's one thing, but why not have success at both things, right? Why not? Yes, you have the grapple, but also you can land a big shot and then get into the grappling, right? So she never adjusts that, and she's just getting rocked over and over again. And really, it was a testament to a lot of fighters say, I'll die in there. A lot of fighters say, I ain't never going to take a back step. I ain't never going to quit. They're going to have to take me out of there. Pena means it. She proved that. She don't have to say it. She means it. We've seen it. She means that 100%. She has no quit in her. She has no back down in her. She is going to come forward the whole time. She proved that there. I've heard many people say that they'll die in the ring or die in the cage. I will never have to question Pena whether she says that or not. Pena was rocked several times. I mean, dropped viciously. Got up and was still trying to apply the same offense again, even though she knew that was going to happen over and over again. It was brutal, the shot she was taking, and she was still coming forward. Now, when it got to the ground, and I pointed out that in the first fight, if you look at the first round, Amanda Nunes really kind of dominates the ground, even the grappling. She really does. She gets on top, and she's kind of throwing Pena where she wants her. Now, in this fight, I think it was a little more competitive on top. I still think the Amanda Nunes felt comfortable on top. I also felt like she was a little bit tired and needed. She said, like, I think that this is maybe a more risky, but I still feel safe doing it. So she would take her down and control on top and fight off the armbar, triangle, and omoplata attempts. And maybe the omoplata attempt was never really there. But the reason why Pena was going for the omoplata was to get herself. It was more of a defensive tactic to get herself in a better position. And she kept going for the same thing over and over again, and she got close. She got damn close a few times. But Nunes was too tired to really just say, like, I will keep it standing. She really wanted to go to the ground because of exhaustion. Why would she have to take those chances? And Pena, like I said, it was tough the whole day, but it was a 5-0 fight, but a very competitive fight. And that's very possible. A lot of times we don't think that's possible. We think like, oh, it's a closer fight than with the judges. No. This was one-sided as far as scorecards, but it was competitive. I think Nunes, like I said, she would win this fight. She was very capable of winning this fight. I saw all the things the mistakes she had made in the first one and the changes she could have made in this one. I still think that she's slowing down quite a bit. She's not at her peak form anymore. And I think that honestly, her days are numbered as like champ. And as when she loses maybe the next time, she's not going to be able to get it back. And the stuff that the Pena was able to land on Nunes, I don't think those things would have been landed before. I think this is a decay in skill and ability. That's really what we're seeing here. It was a good comeback though, win and adjustment for Amanda Nunes. Like I said, consistently, can she fight at top level? I don't think so. No, I don't think so going forward. I think like her next matchup is going to be very interesting on who she gets. If it's even Valentina, like she might be in a world of trouble in that fight. And as far as Pena, she's always going to be limited. I don't see her consistently being a top level fighter. I just don't see that in her. I don't see her have that kind of ability. Now she has a lot of heart. She has a lot of willpower. She doesn't have any quit in her at all. So that's how she got to this position. But skill level, there wasn't even, from with the last performance, there wasn't even really any gain to this performance. It was the same exact. I don't see her competing at the top of anything. It was a great win that she got. I don't expect her to stay at the top level going forward. I'm curious how they match up Nunes. I'm telling you, Valentina would be a lot of trouble for her. But there's some other girls at her weight class that could possibly be trouble because the skill gap has diminished a lot. And in the striking, like the most important part of her game, she could be hit and she could be beat to the punch. And she's not reacting as well to the shots, but she's not even reacting to like move from the shots right now. So we got to see going forward, but I don't expect Nunes' reign to be long this time around if she continues to fight. Oh, I didn't pull up the Nunes picture. That's disrespectful. In the co-main event, we have Kai Kara-France versus Brandon Moreno for the interim title. And I would describe the first fight as kind of like what happened in this fight. Is that Kai Kara-France is very skilled. He is very skilled. And when he could pick his spots and when you allow him to get comfortable in there, he could do some good things. He could look a lot more skilled than his opponent. But there are things and there's gears and the thing is why you can't watch a fight on tape and pick a winner, right? And the reason why they actually go in there and fight, and the reason why I don't like the pound for pound list where it's not based off resume, it's based off who you think is the best fighter and who would win these mythical matchups. And mythical matchups don't work because of stuff like this. Is because Kai Kara-France is technically better than Brandon Moreno. He's technically better than him. Everything he does is probably a better form. Makes more sense. It's the way you would teach it, right? It's all those things. But Moreno has gears to his game. He has a competitiveness to his game. He will force himself to be in a fight. He has the heart. He will run through shots. He's durable. All those things, those are hard to measure. And there's things why guys are effective. Maybe you can't understand or explain technique-wise, right? But what happened in the first fight was Kai Kara-France was looking good, technically. But when Moreno took it to the next gear, Kai Kara-France couldn't keep up with it. He could not keep up with the gear. And Moreno forced a fight on him that he could not keep the pace of. It was too much for him. In this fight, Moreno starts out very good. Like I said, Moreno had a proof from the first fight. So did Kai Kara-France, but Moreno had two as well. So I knew that this fight would have more skill to it, and it did. And Kai France looked good. Moreno looked very good early. And then there was a point in the third round where Kai France takes control of the fight, and he's doing whatever he wants. And it looks like, oh well, Moreno's out of this one. He's not going to be able to compete with him. And it looks like there's a huge gap in the skill. And Moreno takes some big shots while he's on the ground. He's getting countered, he's getting eaten up, and he's still trying to push forward. Even at the point DC and Joe Rogan said that's the fight in him, that's a pride in him that he wants to get it back. And they were kind of saying it like in a negative way, like, he's kind of getting wild or like that. But that's the way he meets when someone is doing better than him. He meets it with energy. He meets it with cranking it up. And that's what he did. And when he did that, it forced Kai France to get uncomfortable and to make a mistake and move straight back. And he moves straight back in the same line and gets caught right at the end of the body shot. So say if he moved an angle, that body shot wouldn't be able to land as cleanly as it did. But when he moved straight back, he was in the same spot. And as he's moving back, he's moving in to the perfect range for Moreno's kick. And the body kick lands and it digs in deep and it shuts his body off, because that's what a perfectly placed body shot will do. And shuts his body off. And once again, Moreno, maybe outskilled, maybe out ability, isn't maybe as tactically as good as Kai France, but has some things that you can't really measure, and it's hard to see on tape, and you kind of have to figure out once you're in there. And that's durability. It's his motor. It's it's all those kind of expressions where you're like, what does that really mean? That's what it really means. When the guy says I'm giving 110%, that's what the hell that means. There are guys that can just crank it up to another level. And if you can't meet him there, or your skills are good at a certain speed, but when that next speed comes up, you diminish, this guy will figure it out. That's what Moreno did. I thought he had an excellent post-fight thing where they went face-to-face, and rarely do you see that play out that well as it did with him and Figueiredo. But that was excellent. And everything he said was, I wanted to say some crazy stuff and all this, but no, because this is my chance to be a perfect example. And let me tell you something, Joe Rogan, all complaints, everything like that, handles that situation perfectly. That was a beautiful moment, that end of that fight. And the way Figueiredo, accepted that, and they were respectful, but it still got you pumped for their fight. I thought that was excellent. A beautiful performance by Moreno. This is a guy that has handled himself with such class, has been himself an original person, and has been dedicated to his game of what he does. Not what he should be doing, or not what, trying to mold himself to someone else. No. Emphasizing his exact game, fighting to his body style. This guy's a perfect example of that. The fight before that, you have Derek Lewis versus Pavlovich, and exactly what I said. I mean, go back to look to the podcast that I break down this UFC card, and look what I said about this fight, and look what I said about Derek Lewis, and how he will now have quit in him. Before, Derek Lewis takes all these shots and nothing, and lands his big shot in between them. Now when he gets hit, and you might say, well, he's getting hit big shots, of course he's going to get hurt. It's a give. It's so mental. It's such a mental thing, but he has a give in him now. That when those shots land, they aren't bouncing off like they were before. It's a complete give of what he has, and he gave in this fight. As soon as the shots started landing, as soon as it became difficult, he is now accepting of the situation. And he fell face forward. And I don't know what the ref's supposed to do in that situation. He lands face forward and the guy lands shots right on the top of your head. The ref, he put himself to get stopped like that. There was, I got back up. That's fine. At that instance, I didn't know that was going to play out, that you were going to get up like that. But that instance of you falling face forward like that and putting yourself out like that and putting yourself in that position, I had to stop it. I had to protect you. It was a good stoppage. It was a great stoppage. And it was exactly 100% how I called this fight. He had give in him. I nailed this card. I mean, we got to be honest. I completely nailed this card. He had the give in him, and then he exposed it. And Pavlovich exposed it. I'm interested in seeing Pavlovich. This guy can hit. He's got good distance on his punches. He seems, he doesn't seem to panic, and he doesn't take long to get started. he seems like he's ready to go from the opening bell. Sometimes it takes guys to warm up. He doesn't have that, and that's a huge advantage. If you give that kind of power, that kind of distance, and you can get started right away, you could get guys out cold. And that leads me to the next fight, because that's exactly what happens. Pantoja versus Perez. In a fight that, they're definitely not fighting for the title next, but definitely put themselves in a good position to fight the winner of Figueiredo Moreno. And what Pantoja does is a lot of times, like, you think strategy and you think, I'm going to hit him. I'm going to block on this side. I'm going to move to this side. I'm going to set him up for this shot. And there's other things, a little more basic, I guess, is also like the speed or pace of the fight, right? And what Pantoja decided to do was, I'm going to go out there and try to catch him cold. And he does. He catches him cold. What do you think I mean when I say he's going to catch him cold? Because a lot of times it takes time for a fighter to warm up. Exactly what I was saying about the fight before. It takes time for a fighter to warm up, to get him in the motions and to get comfortable with the shots landing, comfortable with the speed. And when somebody catch a guy cold, you hit him right away, he can get hurt right away because he's not in the fight yet. He's not accustomed to the speed yet. And sometimes you could also burn a guy's energy like that, because you get out of there and it starts off negatively for him. And suddenly his mind's telling him, like, oh, this is not the way we imagined him. And now he's got to dig himself out of a mental hole to get back into the fight. This happened to Perez very quickly. Pantoja runs in on him, and Perez doesn't have no idea what to do. His form he loses his form with his punches. Like, if you go look at his punches. Go look at his punches when Pantoja rushes him. I mean, it's amateurs of all amateur. And that's not Perez as a fighter. That's not anything with Perez. It was the speed of which Pantoja came in. He caught him cold, didn't allow him to adjust, didn't allow him to get comfortable in there. And when things started going south and it was not the fight he wanted, mentally, it played a big trick on him and put him in a hole. And as soon as he got to his back, it was over. It was all the things that he had imagined going into this fight and how he played out in his head. He had never imagined it playing out like this. And when it was something that he hadn't imagined, something he hadn't thought about, this might happen. Because maybe he did think, I'll get hurt in this fight, but I'll come back. But I guarantee he thought, maybe I'll get hurt second round. Maybe I'll get hurt in the fourth round. I don't think he thought, this guy's going to run all over me. I'm not going to know what to do. He's going to get on my back. He never thought that. And when this played out that way, slowly but surely, there was no recovering for him. And Pantoja won by the strategy of, I'm going to come out quick. I'm going to start fast. And I want to see how he adjusts to that. And he never did. It could have backfired. Maybe Pantoja comes out too quick, doesn't catch the submission, and burns out his legs on his back, or comes out just too hard and burns out his energy. That could have possibly happened. But that's not the way it played out. The strategy worked out perfectly. And he catches him cold, comes in, and beautiful performance, and catches everybody's eye and takes advantage of the eyeballs that he got for this pay-per-view. I was really impressed, and it just was a smart strategy on his part that really played out well. Sometimes strategies work, you know what I mean? And sometimes that strategy could have went either way. Like, that could have been, people could have been critical and been like, why'd you come out like that? With no thought process and fill out the fight or anything like that. And what if you would have came in and got caught, coming in like that? Or what if you, like I said, would have burned out and then would have been tired of the rest and trying to get a second win throughout the rest of the fight? See, that could have backfired on him. People would have been real negative. It would have been hindsight 2020. I think a lot of times you got to acknowledge what could have happened, and that could have happened to him, but what did happen. And that's how close it is sometimes with these strategies and these techniques and the chances you take. It's that close to being negative for you. In the opening bell, Ankalaev versus Smith. And I told you that if Ankalaev won, he could possibly be the number one contender for the title shot versus Jiri. If Jiri doesn't fight Glover in a rematch. And fight played out exactly how I thought it'd play out. I thought that Ankalaev is just too good technically. He's good distance. He won't be rushed into a fight. If the fight's going to be boring, the fight's going to be boring. He's okay with that. He doesn't need to do something to feel like the pressure of the crowd, but he's also can hit very hard. He's also very technical with his hands, technical kicks. Even took this fight to the ground and dominated. Smith has always never been able to compete at the highest level. And also he's got some, wear and tear on him. So this was a fight that perfect spot for Ankalaev. But I really think that this showed that he to me, I'm going to say this right now, he's the class of 205. Even though he's not champion, Jiri's champion, I understand. This man is the class of 205. And if he fights Jerry next, or whoever he fights, really above him, ranked above him, I'm picking on Kylev. His patience, the distance, everything he does, I really enjoy. I think he's a beautiful fighter, and I think he's gonna be a problem. I'm not sure what guy 205 can be able to keep up with him. This guy, he's just gonna be a problem for everyone. And I think even if he gets Jerry next, I would pick him to win. I do want to break that fight down a little bit more, but I'm just right now I'm leaning heavy him. And I think that he had the performance that he needed. He looked dominant as he needed, and he's probably gonna look that way for. Honestly, the title fight might look that way if he fought Glover. There's not a guy right now that is at his level at 205. Thank you guys for listening. Please, you can follow me on YouTube as Raw Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter as Raw Boxing. Follow me on Instagram as Raw Boxing. Spotify, Apple, all those things. Follow me, subscribe, review, leave 5 stars, leave a comment, all those good things. Get some interaction. I'll interact back. Just thanks for guys for listening. This has been the As Raw Podcast.